G'day Smutty Legends and welcome back to the Smutty program. It's chapter 3 this week, so week 3 chapter 3. So last week we met Tobias. He was not happy with Ryth Castlemaine being in his house. So let's see if this week our two characters collide. So chapter 3, Ryth. Dad, I stood up when they brought him out. But he didn't look at me right away, just glanced my way, then lowered his head as he walked with a limp towards the barrier. He was hurt badly. His eyes were swollen, lips bleeding. The sight of that hit me hard. Jesus. He forced a smile as he sat. It's okay, Ree. He nodded at a chair, urging me to do the same. Did they do that to you? I whispered, unable to take my eyes off his face. His poor, beautiful face. It's nothing I can't handle, he said as tears welled in my eyes. Hey! He leaned closer to the divider. Look at me. Through a sheen of tears, I did. It's nothing I can't handle. Now I need for you to do the same. He just nodded and licked his lips before meeting my gaze. Your mum's going to do her best to keep you protected until I get out of here and figure this all out. Protected? Fear found me, so it had been them, the Rossies. Shit, this was worse than I thought. When, Dad? When will that be? I don't know, Princess. He licked his split lip, fixing me with a desperate gaze. But I need you to know I'd never do anything to put you and your mum in danger. He pulled away as a pain dulled his gaze. I just wouldn't. Who was it? I clenched my fist. Tell me and I'll... He saw me then, saw the way my body shook and my hatred raged, and gave a hint of a smile even with his busted lips. You what? You gonna pay him a visit, my little lioness? You always were more like me than your mother. And in an instant his smile faltered and sadness consumed that flicker as the guard behind him called out, Time, Castlemaine. He gave a nod and rose. I followed, standing before I caught the reflection of my face in the divider. Then he reached up and pulled down the side of my hair. Be careful out there, Princess, Dad called, his gaze moving to the birthmark on my face. Stay strong, I'll be out of here soon. Castle! The guard barked. I jerked my gaze towards him and glared. But it didn't matter what I wanted. In here, my dad didn't exist. He was a nobody, just another inmate who had to obey the rules. Give my love to your mother, Princess. Tell her I'm thinking of her, Dad said before he turned and walked away, disappearing through the door and leaving me behind. I punched my fist against the glass, drawing a savage glare from the guard, before I turned and stormed towards the door to the hallway. The sun glared, blinding me for an instant, until I saw the sleek Mercedes waiting in the car parking lot. Creed Banks was a nice guy for some kind of lawyer. He'd taken us in and given us somewhere to stay for the last 2 days. He'd even taken us shopping for clothes and necessities, but I didn't want to stay there, not in his house with his 3 sons I'd spied from the doorway of the bedroom where I was staying. Not just a bedroom, a storeroom, remember? That voice in my head whispered as I crossed the parking lot, yanked open the back door and slid inside, instantly blasted by the cool air-conditioned air. Dad asked about you. I glared towards the passenger seat, but was met with silence. Mum just stared straight ahead, even as Creed glanced her way, then looked over his shoulder to me. I'm glad you got to see your dad. I'm sure he needed that. He would have liked to see his wife more. But she said nothing, just dropped her head and cried. She wasn't the same since Dad had been arrested. Non-responsive, broken. I winced. Mum, I'm sorry. It's okay. She reached behind the seat for my hand. Next time, huh? Okay, I grabbed her hand and squeezed. That's the way. Creed gave me a wink before he put the car into gear and pulled out of the parking lot. It was over an hour's drive back to the city, an hour when I sat in the back seat and replayed Dad's words to me. I'll get out, Princess, I'll get out. He had to. Our family depended on it. By the time he did, Mum and I would be waiting, just in a different house. Have you found a place yet? She shook her head no. Seems there's a bit of a problem, Creed weighed in. What? I jerked my gaze to him, then back towards her. Mum dropped her head, her voice filled with desperation. Our bank accounts are frozen. We have nothing left. Nothing? But we just bought all new clothes and a MacBook for school. I lifted my brand new iPhone. If we had no money, then... I shifted my gaze to the man behind the wheel. A man who'd been a stranger less than a week ago. A man who'd just spent a small fortune on clothes and things for us. Then I'll get a job, I declared. Whatever it takes. No, Ree, you have school. Fuck school, this is important. Your mum's right. I jerked my gaze towards Creed, biting my lips to keep from snapping back at him. It's none of his business. But the moment my anger rose, it left just as fast. This man had just spent a lot of money on us and never once said a word about it. Why? Did he think I wouldn't figure it out? Did he not want me to know about us not having any money? Shame filled me at the anger I felt. I stared at him as we drove home. This man had gone out of his way for us. Me, specifically. Taking me to see Dad. Getting me things I needed and some I just wanted if I was honest. There's no way my parents would have spent that much money on a damn laptop. But there wasn't even a word spoken. Mum had said, pick out a laptop for school, whichever one you want. So I had, walking past the normal range and walked into the Apple section where I found Creed staring at a brand new MacBook. Fast, sleek, so damn pretty. He'd known. Even he knew we had no money and he still wanted me to have something special. Something that gave me a little excitement. I swallowed hard, hating myself for the anger I'd felt a second ago. Okay, I'll stay in school. We'll figure it out, Princess, Mum said, her voice strained. By the time we got back to the house, it was growing dark. The parking spaces out front were empty, and for some reason, a wave of relief hit me. It wasn't that I didn't like his sons. I didn't really know them. They stayed mostly in their rooms, the sounds of gunfire and screams occasionally coming out of one of their rooms on the same floor as mine. Only one had really seen me. My pulse sped as I remembered the encounter, his dark, brooding, sullen stare as he stepped out of his bedroom, wearing nothing but cut-off grey sweats that hung low on his hips. Hate raged in his eyes the minute he saw me. I just looked at the floor and hurried past, praying to God he hadn't seen me. I reached up and touched the mark on my cheek, praying he hadn't seen that. He would eventually. I closed my eyes, knowing he'd snigger and laugh, and mentally prepared myself for the taunts that had come. They always did. You look like you just got slapped, Castlemaine. Obviously not hard enough. They made fun of me. Everyone did. I swallowed hard and pressed my fingers to my cheek, wishing for the millionth time I'd been born normal. Why can't I just be normal? Home, Creed murmured, drawing my gaze as we turned into the driveway. I lifted my gaze to the gorgeous house as panic raced inside me. For now, I muttered and released my seatbelt as we pulled into the garage. Creed braked, then switched off the engine. I'm feeling like a pizza tonight. Oh, Mum glanced his way, a hint of a smile on her lips, as she climbed out and glanced my way. That's Ree's favourite food. Really? He cut a glance my way as he closed the door. That true? Yeah, I hate how my belly tightened at the words. It's okay. Just okay, huh? I know of a place that does the best grilled chicken and bacon. The cheese, oh man, stringy, sharp, just oozing as you lift it to your mouth. My own watered as he spoke. I licked my lips. Yeah, I could go for a pizza. He smiled, then gave my mum a sly wink. How about you run upstairs and get ready, and I'll order it for an hour. Sound good to you? In an hour, I could start to set up my new MacBook. Excitement hummed inside me. Yeah, that's perfect. He strode to the interior door and opened it, motioning me through. Sounds like a date to me. It'll be good having you and your mum here. I won't tend to eat so much. I love pizza, he said as he looked down and slapped his hands against his hard stomach, although the waistline doesn't. I gave a shrug and slipped past. You look fine for an old guy. Old? He growled as I quickened my steps, fighting the smile on my lips. Why, you little... He growled, playfully pretending to grab at me. And just like that, the heaviness of the prison slipped away. I climbed the stairs and made my way to the bedroom, even the house felt different. Lighter, emptier, almost like home. Home. I swallowed, my fleeting smile slipping away. It was almost a betrayal, almost like I wanted to leave it all behind, the frequent fighting, the constant worrying, the numerous lies. I'd heard it all from the cracked open door of my bedroom. I swallowed hard and opened the door to my new bedroom and stopped. It was empty. I glanced at the clear space now at the end of the bed. All the machines were gone. What? I stepped inside and closed the door behind me, moving around the room. The indentations on the carpet were still there, but apart from the bed and the dresser next to it, the room was bare. I glanced over my shoulder. They'd done this? Came in and cleared out all their mother's things? I didn't know how I felt about that. Sad? Happy? Happy that I could at least walk around to the other side of the bed without stabbing my damn toe? I glanced at the corner where the stack of paperwork and bereavement cards had hidden underneath, and they too were gone. Like they hadn't been there at all. Something else was different though. I glanced at the bed, conjuring the memory of where everything had been. My gaze went to my MacBook first. On my pillow then, I found my clothes, and stilled at the crumpled ball of my panties. Fear coursed through me. I stepped closer, picking them up, and they expanded in my hands. Creases in the fabric. What the hell were they doing touching my underwear? Maybe they fell. Maybe they knocked the bed as they moved the machines out and picked them up before tossing them onto the bed. I glanced at where I was sure they'd been buried under the pile of new clothes I'd grabbed and pushed the thought out of my mind. It didn't matter. I tossed them to the side and flopped down on the bed, reached for my new laptop, and spent the rest of the time pulling it out of the box, hooking it up to charge, and deciding my settings. Then I loaded a pretty image of a purple butterfly on the screen before the heavy thud of footsteps drew my attention. My pulse thundered as the sound stopped on the landing outside my room. I pushed the mat from my lap and rose, but then a beat came from a cell and a heavy thud of steps drifted back down the stairs. I stepped closer and the thump of the front door closing sounded. Dinner, Ryth, Creed called. I opened the door, my gaze moving along the landing to their rooms. Their doors were closed. No sounds of gunfire. Peace. I had made my way downstairs as the heady scent of cheese and deliciousness hit me. Oh man, that smells, I began as I stepped into the dining room and froze. They were all there. All three of them. 3 grown men, as well as Creed, and my mum staring at me. Delicious, the deep growl came from the broody one who was glaring at me. What? I jerked towards him. But he didn't answer, just glared, those dark eyes glistening. The pizza. One of the others stepped forward and lifted his arm over the brooding asshole's shoulders. It's Tobe's favourite. He slipped his arm free, then taking a step closer, I'm Caleb, this is Nick. And he jerked his head towards the other, who had just leaned against the wall and watched with his arms crossed against his chest. And you already know the moody one, Tobias. I licked my lips, met each piercing gaze, and nodded at Caleb's gaze, as Caleb's gaze went to my cheek. No! Panic ripped through me as I jerked my hand up, tugged my hair low, and turned away. Guys, Creed murmured, how about we sit? I'll stand, Tobias declared. I felt his stare as I moved away from them, made my way around the other side of the long dining table and took a seat. took a seat towards the end, but still close enough to reach the food. Ryth, honey, Mum called and stretched over the open boxes of pizza and mountain of garlic bread, coleslaw, and sides as she reached for a plate. Sit closer. The two guys sat barely glancing my way, but I couldn't move. My cheeks were burning with humiliation. A couple of growls erupted as pieces were snatched, bites were taken, and conversations filled the air. They even chatted to my mum about the fire. I lifted my head and took a plate. When Mum passed it to Caleb and gestured to me, he gave me a smile and a wink as he handed it over. For the first time since I'd stepped into that dining room, I allowed myself to breathe. They weren't that bad. I glanced at Nick, who watched me, then forced a smile, one I faintly returned as I grabbed a slice of pizza and bit. So damn good, Creed groaned from the head of the table as he grinned and glanced my way. What do you think, Rye? Rye? Good. I chewed and took another bite, tracking the movement from the corner of my eyes as Tobias strode towards the table, yanked out a chair next to me and sat. They all tried not to look his way, even as Mum smiled at the others and helped herself to more food than I'd ever seen her eat before. All of a sudden, it felt almost normal. Food, friends, apart from the glaring asshole who dragged his focus from my breast to my eyes as he took a massive bite of his pizza and chewed. And that's the end. That's the end of chapter 3. So, finally, we're starting to see a little bit of interaction between Ryth and Tobias. We're back to Tobias next week, so hopefully we'll see a little bit more. But until then, don't forget to like and follow. I forgot what I was saying then. Don't forget to subscribe and hit notifications so you get notified every time I upload a video. And if you haven't already, head over and check out my Instagram as well. All right, until next week, love, smutty reading.